done. On that note, through the corner of my eye, as we wait for that briefing there with President Cyril Ramaphosa with South African journalists, you can see that there's quite a lot of snow in Davos, and one wonders there what's in store for us when it comes to South Africa. That's Vincent Makwenya there, as you can see her, the president's spokesperson, so it does signal somewhat that any minute now we may get that briefing with the president. In fact, he is there. I can see President Cyril Ramaphosa has just arrived to speak to the journalists there. He's about to start, as he is now going to be answering some questions from the media on the G20. Remember, South Africa is now the president's. Let's listen to what President Cyril Ramaphosa has to say.
World Economic Forum. We've had the opportunity to address the World Economic Forum, as in business leaders, government leaders, heads of states, about our G20 presidency, where we outlined our objectives with regard to the theme of the world of the G20 in South Africa, in Johannesburg this year, and also the priorities that we're going to focus on. We stressed that we are going to be having three themes: solidarity, equality, and sustainable development. These are themes that we would like the G20 to add a lot of substance to, in terms of enhancing cooperation in the world and building consensus around the issue of solidarity, so that more and more countries should act in solidarity with each other as we advance the interests of ordinary people, and also in advancing equality. There's inequality in countries and between nations, and we believe that this is an issue that should be addressed, so that we promote more and more equality, particularly at the economic level, which is largely the area that the the G20 focuses on, and also on sustainable development, so that the world has a greater capability of dealing with climate change, the financing thereof. And we outlined 4 priorities that we believe need to be addressed. The one is about finance for countries to deal with climate change, and more finance should be made available, particularly for countries that are suffering the devastation of climate change. And we should also deal with the issue of debt. Many countries, particularly in the developing economies, have huge debt burdens, and they pay much more money in servicing their debts than countries in the global north. And we should also deal with disaster financing following disasters that are caused by climate change, which many countries in the global south are not even responsible for. They have to pay a lot of money year in and year out to deal with the devastation that they suffer from climate change. So we would like innovative ways of either insurance or financing, and greater access to finance. And the other important issue is with critical minerals. We said we would like to reach consensus on the issue of the beneficiation of minerals that are produced in the developing economy world, particularly in Africa. And through all this, we are going to put Africa at the center stage of what the G20 should deal with. And so in the end, we've also had a lot of discussions with investors, potential investors, and we've flown the South African flag high, but we've also demonstrated more clearly about South Africa being a great destination for investments. And our interaction with various business people, and there were many here, has been very positive. They have a sense of a very optimistic future for South Africa, and we are consolidating that with our collaboration with the business sector from South Africa, and they also bore testimony to this. So been a very good visit to the World Economic Forum, and our ministers took a lot of time interacting in the sessions of the WEF as well as with business and also government leaders. So it was a broad-based type of engagement that we've had here. It's very successful indeed, possibly one of the very best that South Africa has had in the G20 and the World Economic Forum, because we were given a great opportunity, an African country being given a great opportunity to address the world on our presidency of the G20. So it's been good, and I go home filled with a great deal of courage and confidence, and very optimistic as well. So can I go home now?
Mr. President, can I have one question from China?
Yes.
Yeah, so Chinese President Xi Jinping has said the cooperation between China and Africa could drive the modernization of the global south. So how is that unfolding in South Africa at this point?
Well, we have great relations with China, and during the FOCAC summit in Beijing, we agreed that we are going to take our relationship to a more higher strategic level. And so we have a very special relationship with China, and the cooperation is broad-based. It's both economic, political, and social. And it also is based on people-to-people engagement. We are going through our tourism efforts, going to open the South African country more and more to tourists coming from China, and to goods also flowing from South Africa to China and vice versa. So that in many ways is the true modernization of our relations. We'll also be focusing on infrastructure projects. So we're particularly pleased with the way that President Xi is pushing our relationship forward.
And do you think, President, your big takeaways, besides the fact that you've made South Africa's case and put it on the table, 300 days without load shedding is a big boost for the country. What are your big takeaways? And perhaps the looming large of Donald Trump presidency and how that could shape global politics, particularly on issues such as climate change finance. What can you say to us about those?
Well, yes, we feel very encouraged by the progress that we've made with regard to energy. When we last came here, we were going through an energy crisis. And now, more than 300 days later, we can hold our heads high and say, working together with our partners, we've been able to stabilize our energy generation as well as transmission. So things are going very well. And this has led to a lot of increased confidence with the business community here, because that is the one issue they kept raising with us, that solve the energy problem, and then you will see more and more investments flowing into your country. So we are hugely encouraged. The inauguration of President Trump obviously is getting many people, many countries, many leaders talking, and some of them are fearful, some of them are hopeful, and we have very good dealings with the United States on a trade level, an economic level, and we are hopeful that those relations will be retained, and we will continue to have good relations too at a political level as we interact also with President Trump. He is going to be the next, say, president, or America is the next president of the G20. So we will be working together to prepare the United States for their own presidency. And so we'll be having lots of discussions and addressing a number of challenges, including the issues of climate change, the financing thereof, and I'm sure that we will find great solutions. President Trump is a great deal maker, and so am I. So we will be able to work together.
Thank you,
President. Heidi Trafford from NCA. I just want to ask you, is there a reason why you didn't attend Trump's inauguration? And you're speaking about how he's a great deal maker, but are you worried about the relations between South Africa and the US now that he's president, given his remarks?
No, I'm not worried about our relations. I spoke to him soon after he was elected, congratulated him, and we both said we are looking forward to continued dealings and engagement. I was not able to go to the United States because I was very busy with my party political work. We were holding our strategy session, which is a very important strategy session, which is called a Lekgotla, and no ANC president ever stays away from there. So that took precedence. But I know President Trump and I are going to continue either dealing together or meeting, and so it's not a train smash.
Thank you, President. Thanks, guys.
Donald Trump grabbed headlines over the weekend, launching a cryptocurrency meme coin. Can we expect to see a Ramaphosa coin? And what are your thoughts on the potential of the US adopting a Bitcoin strategic reserve? Could South Africa follow suit if the US were to pass such legislation?
Well, we are, and our financial institutions have been looking at this whole issue of cryptocurrency, and it's a reality that is descending on the world, and all countries, most countries have to look at it very carefully, and so are we. So no, you're not going to see a Ramaphosa Bitcoin or whatever. So I'm not that ambitious to be able to want to see my face on some coin.
Thank you. Thank you, very much. Thank you, guys. Thank you.
That's President Cyril Ramaphosa there engaging with journalists on the sidelines of the World Economic Forum in Davos. Some of what he said is that he leaves Davos encouraged, and saying that last year this time South Africa was dealing with the energy crisis, and it was difficult conversations that were being had with regards to this. And now he says that he feels encouraged because now South Africa has not seen load shedding for over 300 days now, and also speaking about the fact that for him, they continue then to push the issue around solidarity as well as equality and sustainable development. Remember, those are the three themes that South Africa has now adopted when it comes to the G20 presidency, and also speaking about the fact that he remains hopeful that as President Trump has now taken over the reins and in the US, that trade relations between South Africa and the US will continue. So we'll continue then to monitor that for you and be in conversation with Tshepo Mongwai a little later on.